This is Vaughan in Nova Scotia at westcoatbellpottery.ca. I'm doing it's a commission actually, but I've been making these flower paintings. It's spring and we've got flowers. Bulbs are just starting to poke through the ground. So we won't have any actual flowers for at least 4 weeks, I would think. But anyway, this is a set of mugs I've got over here, and I'm painting them with underglazes, and it's in a sort of a Japanese paintbrush style, which I'm going to demonstrate, and it's fairly easy for a beginner to try to attempt this, but you need to get yourself some nice paintbrushes, little Japanese paintbrushes. I've got a whole slew of them right here, different sizes, and a fan brush as well. So let's get to it, and I'll see if I can get you as close as possible for this, so you can see what's actually happening. I'll pull it as close. I got to get my arm fairly free to do this. You should have nice, easy flowing movements to do this. There we go. I've got what I call leaf green, and I've got a dark green. And then I have 2 different types of purples and 2 different types of yellows. And the underglaze is watered a little bit so that it's fluid, but not enough so that it will run. And what you have to do is you have to be able to make a mark and not hesitate. So basically you're trying to use a natural movement of your hand to go like that. Let's get the light over a bit more on there so you can see it maybe. So that you're trying to do quick movements with your hand, sort of flowing movements, I think you would say. And you try and alternate the pressure a little bit with the paintbrush so that it's thin and then goes thick, and you'll get that with a little bit of practice. There you go. And then I'm moving to the dark green. I don't do this very often, but I like doing it. It's a nice kind of afternoon of painting when you do something like this. See that you can get the line fairly thin, then you can try and get it a little thicker. So it's kind of spontaneous. And no 2 are alike, obviously. And then I have 2 different purples here. Hey, seagulls are pretending they're on the video too. I've got the doors open today, it's quite nice and warm. So basically I'm letting the natural shape of the brush do the work. See, I'm sort of dabbing it. You can brush it, take a little bit of the color off the brush to give the point a little bit more chance to show up. This is kind of a loop-in type effect. We have lots of loop-ins in this area. It's a wildflower basically, but they grow really well on the shoreline. There's lots of ways you can make marks without actually trying to carefully paint that still look really nice. And you just have to play, because I've done about 6 of these already. And I've been playing around with different ways the paintbrush can make the marks. This one is just loop-ins. And that's the one purple, and this is actually violet, the next color here. So this paintbrush has a point to it, so I'm able to make a certain shape of, it's almost like a, I'm not sure what, it's not a circle, it's like a bar almost, but repetitively putting it next to each other to give the flower a kind of a deeper center color. But as you can see, it's not like I'm trying to paint carefully within a shape or anything. It's quite a natural, fluid way of painting. Very different from the stenciling, which I was showing you the other day, which I no longer find at all, yeah, sort of a technique I don't really look forward to doing each time. I've done it for so long, I think it's time for me to move on. But this, I really enjoy the painting. And I think it's because every one has a spontaneity to it. And we've been in winter for so long, I think the flowers just are really fun to paint and do. My one friend lives in Jersey and they have flowers already. All right, now I've got some paintbrushes here with yellows. This is a bright sort of a straw yellow, I guess you would call it. And what's the other color? They're CC's, Harvest Gold. CC by Duncan. Actually, I'll save this one for the next one, but I will, using the fan brush, show you what kind of shape you can get with a fan brush. It's meant because it can kind of give a fan shape, but I kind of like painting with it, just as a kind of an irregular line. So I'm using the edge of the brush. It's almost like you can highlight the green brush strokes that I have there already. See, I come from a fine art background. I taught myself how to do pottery. There you go. And you just make a decision at some point that, well, that's enough for that one. So let's try another one. A very fluffy flower. So that's the deeper yellow. So now I'll move on to the straw yellow. And do some brighter yellow loose in there. So it's basically trying to be loose, not really like you would say somebody was trying to draw a flower and make it look exactly like a flower. Well, I'm pretty much working from my imagination here. I'm working with the shapes so the paintbrush can get for me rather than being restricted by a certain flower shape. But you can see it has a certain nice quality to it. And then the fan brush is supposed to work like this, so you kind of pull it up because it's got lots of bristles, so you can do some little, so the bristles show up inside a little bit, so that will give some depth at the bottom there. I already did that one. So it's a way of almost creating a feeling of the ground, I guess you would say. And I can use the other color too, because I've got the deeper yellow to go in there and put in some deeper yellows at the bottom. It is nice to experiment, and I've been through it all. I mean, doing craft fairs for 27 years. I didn't have any time to experiment when I was doing craft fairs. That was a time in my life where you really are just having to keep up with, you know, what pieces are selling at the last craft fair. You try and remake to see whether they'll sell at the next craft fair. Now this is just the purple again, so I'm just gonna kind of give each one a little center in there. But it's important when you're working as an artist or even as a craftsman, just as a potter, there's an area in between where an artist is a potter and a potter is an artist, of course. Here you go. I think that one's finished. I've done quite a nice little set of colors there. Hopefully they'll show up really well. Underglazes are supposed to show up. But anyway, as an artist and a potter, you try to just experiment. Try to keep your work fresh. And if you stay in business as long as I have been in business as an artist, you need to at least liven things up a bit every so often. I think it's important every year that customers come in to see your work, that you are doing something different. And there's also continuity, that you might really try to have some pieces that people collect that you just have to keep remaking as long as you want to make them. But it's important to satisfy your customers' needs as well as your own needs to stay in business. You need your customers to be happy. I always like the fact that I think everybody that comes in my booth at a craft fair, when I did those, or in my gallery here, can afford to buy something. And they're also getting something totally handmade. Okay, let's give you a quick overview. This is the one I did using the fan brush. You can see that one. This one I did with sort of daffodil looking. Here's another one with the daffodils and the lupins alternatively. They may not be lupins, they could be lavender, of course, in some of these, but there's another one where I just painted a little bit of the yellow with the fan brush. And this one was using the fan brush a lot over the top of the lupins. Okay, that was just something different, a quick video, and just on painting with underglazes since we did stenciling the other day. So this one is a technique I just think anybody should try, and just try to get spontaneous and quick. You need a little bit of courage, of course. It's like a big sheet of white paper and then you have to make a mark on it. Well, just make a bunch of mugs. And so the great thing is if they're greenware like this, they're not dry yet, I could just scrape it off, you know, if it looks terrible. So anyway, all right. Good morning. This is a video of 2 kiln unloadings, my small kiln, and it's a Euclid kiln, and this is my Tucker kiln, made by Tucker, and I think it's I bought it from Bailey in Kingston, New York, and it's the stencil pieces that I did with the landscapes, the cows, the sheep, and such, and then the flower painted mugs as well. So here we go. Let's set you up so you can see inside. These 2 kilns, basically. There you go, so nice with those lid lifters on there. Okay, so this kiln, I almost had enough to fill it, but not quite. So these pieces, I usually fill my kilns to the brim. I fire on stilts with earthenware, so it's the terracotta clay. And these are the mugs that you saw me painting in the video. So I'll go through them quickly because there's a lot of them. I think I did 24 of these. All different, houses in different places. I always try to, you know, brown houses, blue houses, different color houses with the sheep and the cows. Did I do cows on these ones? No, I did cows on the bulls, that's right, yeah. So these are all the sheep ones. So basically it's just a transparent glaze that fires to cone 04, and I bisque fire higher to cone 01, and that is to prevent crazing. Something of everything down here. So more mugs. Just pull it right off. They're so easy to remove with earthenware. And you can feel the stenciling. I mean, that's part of this technique. So I've had customers in the past who say, well, it feels rough. Well, it's because it's a different type of technique. You can put the glaze on really thick, but I've always felt like, you know, this technique is unique. So you should apply the glaze so you can feel the stencils. It's like pottery in Braille, but oof. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's two branches, as you can see, and it didn't crack. This is going to Columbus, Ohio. I think it's going to Bexley, Ohio, actually, but it's in Columbus. But it's in one piece. No, sinks actually, because they're so thick, you have to fire the kiln very slowly. All right, so there you go. A large 18.25 inch wide sink. And this one was a cone 6. These are the mugs I do because Nova Scotia has done so well with our COVID response. In a firing. Let's get the last one of these out. Every one of these was different. That one seemed to work pretty good. It's a Happy Spring flower mug. This clear glaze is a really nice glaze. It feels beautiful, and it has a sort of satin look to it as well. I mean, it's clear and shiny, but it's not like, you know, totally shiny. I mean, it has a sort of satin look to it, which I really like, because I don't like the bright glare. But look at this, the underglaze is held in really well on these. I'm checking for any issues with crawling, because I've got underglazes on here that were meant to be painted on bisque work, that I actually painted them on the greenware, and that's that one there, and it worked. It actually kind of resisted the glaze a little bit, but it's shiny in itself. But I think these turned out very nice. Okay, yeah, somebody did a commissioned me to do a dark green tankard. So there it is. She wants 2 blue, a dark green, and a black. And that's the darkest green I have. It's very nice. Turned out good. White inside too. That liner glaze is very nice. Okay, all right, so that was a successful. Were there any flops? Not really. No, I think everything was successful in this. Earthenware, just to recap, bisque fire 01. Most earthenware clays can take that 01 for the bisque. And it makes the clay denser so that when you put a glaze over it and fire to 06 or 04, you don't get crazing. I've got pieces decades old that haven't crazed. It does mean that you can then fire on stilts, even large plates on stilts, and they won't warp at cone 06 or 04 as well. But if you fire higher for the glaze, to say cone 01, I actually had earthenware plates bending, so that's why I didn't do that, because I could have just fired everything to 01 in a glaze firing, but it just didn't work because everything sort of bent a little bit and warped. You can see that one bowl there, that was slightly out of shape. So that's what I recommend for earthenware, bisque 01 and glaze to 04. Hi, I just wanted to show you a little fancy kiln packing for a bisque firing. I had to really be creative. Here you go. All my little bud vases are all standing on top of each other, with the bottom of the smaller ones sitting on the neck and rim of the bigger ones. If I can show you, I can lower you down a bit. There you go. So you can get away with anything practically in a bisque firing. All right. Just wanted to give you a quick one of that. All right. Take care. Bye.